Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's get some energy in the room, like, so we're not like... Today, value comes from attention, trust, identity, and stories that connect. That's really what it's about, right? And, you know, there's one thing we say, authenticity is probably the other thing I would add. You can't fake the funk. You can't pretend this thing, and you can't style your way out of it. So all those things, like when you see these things, I just laugh because the truth of the matter is the audience, you know, these are black people you're dealing with, and black people don't believe anything until they see it. That's the first thing, right? They don't believe it until they see it. They believe that you're lying to them. They think that, Nigeria, these people have come again. But when you actually get down to it, it's about how do you build trust. In the modern environment with the AI, deep fakes, all these things that are coming, we're about to go into an election cycle. With what I'm seeing in AI, I already know. When it gets into this next election cycle, we're going to see all kinds of crazy comments ascribed to people that never made the comment, right? So how do authorities deal with that? How does government deal with that? How does society react to that? You know, that's something that is very, very important in terms of where we are right now. And it comes back to the issue of technology, right? In 2026, even as far back as 2000, you know, a lot of times as humans, you know, when I say history, some people think, oh, it's boring. I said, no, it's not about boring history. It's about context today. So every single time that something happens that changes the dynamic, like social media changed the dynamic, right? Digital media changed the dynamic. It now looks like it's history. I still remember when I opened my Facebook account, there had been high five. There were like all kinds of other things. There was MySpace. There was Facebook, high five. Nobody knew which one was going to work, right? And I remember MySpace, because we were doing music, we were looking at the MySpace, and that's how we met some of the people that we met that today have become proper people, right? It's a true story. Uche is sitting here, I'll tell you, I was producing Big Brother, right? 2006, the first one. And I got an email from some girl. I don't know who this girl is. And she says she's in college in Canada. And she's doing a blog and she's writing about the show. I'm like, the show hasn't started. she was telling me stuff that was happening in my production. Like, yeah, but we heard this, we heard that. And I'm like, how the hell do you hear that? I didn't say it on the email reply, but I was just like, I don't understand. And she's like, yeah, anyway, we want to do this, we want to do that. I said, okay, listen, let's do it this way. I'm going to introduce you to the guys at Mnet. You talk to them, then they can give you access. And we're sitting here, it's 20 years later. You were still in university. She's built this massive brand, right? And, you know, it just came from having integrity. That's what I say. I didn't know her. But the way I was approached, the way she asked, I said, please, we need the support. And of course, Mnet at the point in time is some massive behemoth up here. And she's just some student in some university with an idea. But today, I'm very sure Mnet will never drop her. In 20 years, you guys are still working, right? Yeah, because the platform works. You're reaching an audience that you need to reach. And who is that audience? Young women, right? Is it Essence Magazine, the people that run it are friends of mine, and the guy said to me, Obi, we have 44 million women as our standard weekly users, of which 40% of them are Nigerian. I said, why am I not surprised? It's always the Nigerians, everywhere. It's not about here. It's about everywhere where there's black content and culture happening. The Nigerians are at the heart of it. The only issue is, back in the day, the Nigerians used to almost deny being Nigerian or sort of hide it. My name is Ken. So, Ken, you look like Emeka, but I'll let you be Ken this week, you know? But it just brings us back to where we are now, where, you know, already you're in a country where we have a bunch of creators. We worked with a couple of firms last year, one called, three actually, on a couple of reports. One is the Nigerian Creator Economy Report, which I'll give to Teresa, she can share to you guys afterwards. Because we had supported an African Creator Economy Report in 2024. And I was kind of like, and they came to me, they were going to do a second one. And I said, what's happened to the Nigeria one? Are we not the biggest in this game? I might be making an assumption. I didn't think I was, but I think we probably are. So why can't let's dimension this market and start from there. So we did that. But, you know, even as we did it, we know we left out some categories, right? Esports is not really covered. The chefs aren't really covered. There's a bunch of the comedians that are sort of half covered. But we're like, this is just to let you know that this thing is economic. It's not just culture, it's not just entertainment. It's economic, it's business, and it has certain metrics that enable it to work and sustain. And if you understand business and conversion and sales, then you will know why the most successful influencers are the most successful influencers. So the point is, when we were starting on this journey, a lot of the stuff that artists would say to you is, let me take you global and take you to the Grammys. I'd be like, bro, I've already been. And it's kind of like that now. A lot of our creators are already global. Many of them haven't even left Nigeria, but they're global. Their influence is reaching to all kinds of places. And then sometimes you see the way brands sort of try to integrate with them. I don't know, do you guys know a guy called Tobe? He's an influencer? Not Wigwe, not the rapper. Tobe, what's it? Yeah, Tobe is, yeah. Okay, so I've been following the guy for about a year, I don't know, 9 months, I don't know. I just follow people that I find interesting. And I reached out to him last year. We have something called NAFest, which is National Festival that's been running since 1917. I reached out to him. I was like, listen, I want you to come and be an ambassador for this thing. I've been watching you. And he started talking about something else. I was like, this guy's too much energy. You need to come. So we met finally for the first time physically this week. And and I said to him, the thing about you that I find is a little bit different than most of the other guys is that you are actually, whenever I see his stuff, I see a sense of awe when he encounters Nigeria. And that's what makes him unique. And that's his ability as a storyteller, because he's able to communicate that. And because of that, we're bringing him into our platforms. And I said to him, look, I don't have money for you, but I have leverage. I'll embed you. I guarantee you this time next year, if you haven't made 100 million, sue me. Because the reality is, what else is happening? Who else is going there? Who else is touching? I'm sure you saw him at Christmas going to give water to some village in Yobe. I've been to that village. That place is far. I was like, what's this kid doing? Anyway, he's a nutter, but he's a good nutter, if that makes sense. Because you need the authentic storytellers. The reason why I mentioned him, and there's a few others, authentic cyclist, what's the other chap? Nii Fabemi with the visuals. I think Nii Fabemi probably, with Tayo I know, because Nii was his cinematographer. Again, one of the things that's really important about this stuff is that people begin to see the value in the country, the locations, the destinations, the opportunities, and then what I call the hidden stories. Because there's so much hidden below the surface that it's just a function of your ability to almost reimagine your environment, right? Because reimagination is really is a superpower at this point in time. If you look at Nigeria very well, there's something I talk about a lot of times, and we're talking about brands and partnership. I mean, I'm sitting in government these days, and the interesting thing is everybody thinks you have money because you're in government. And we're there like, we don't have any money. Do you understand? But we will make things happen. And then when you make things happen without money, then they really think you have money. You're like, there's no money here. You didn't give us any money. Okay, so how did that thing happen? I said, we leveraged it. Because we come from the private sector, so we understand leverage. But guess what? It can get into trouble for leveraging those sort of things. So you have to be a little bit careful. But in terms of strategic growth, right, we have a target to bring the creative economy to $100 billion by 2030. It's not a theoretical figure. There's been significant mapping done, about 14 sectors so far. And what we're actually seeing is that our estimation was a little bit short. We could get to 3 million jobs 2030 and about 120 billion. But you need to invest, right? It's like anything in life. I can't do this if you don't give me the money to do it. So you have to invest in my journey for me to reach that place. And it's a little bit like a campaign or anything else you're doing in business. If you don't put down the money, you will stay outside the party or outside the conversation. You're not going to be part of the actual thing. If you want to be part of the business, you need to invest. So Nigeria is at a point in time where Nigeria now needs to take ownership and leadership. And what I believe strongly is that the creative economy, which is driven by creators, influencers, brand strategists, managers, the advertising industry will be having big conversations with them because in a large extent, the advertising industry is actually supposed to be the sort of banking and finance for the creativity, right? If that makes any sense. Because the media buyers hold all the budget. They hold all the budget from all the brands. They drive broadcast. They're now, of course, driving influencers. But guess what? Original content creation, formats, and all of that. Without that, they still can't do it. They still need the skills of the kind of people in this room who are able to deliver those original ideas, those original platforms, and then make it connect emotionally. I think you'll find that emotional connection is the key selling point for whatever you're doing. And in 2026, another thing is experience. Because with AI and augmented reality, you're going to be able to do all kinds of things with marketing and tools and with destination. So even just to give you an example, we're sitting here, this is 2026. How many people in this room have heard of a place called Eredo? Let's do a quick test. Nobody? That's incredible. And it's so normal. But just to tell you where Eredo is, but you've all heard of Ekpe? All right. So if you drive down the Lekki Expressway, you get to Ekpe. When you get out of Ekpe, you get to the top of a hill. There used to be this really terrible road that takes you out towards Ijebu. And when you get to the junction there, for those of us from the east, we turn right and you start driving towards Benin, right? If you go across the road, that's Ijebu Ode. When you're on that top of that hill, looking at Eredo, there's a rainforest on your left that you drive past, like a valley you drive through. That rainforest is Eredo, right? So many of you have driven past it, been past it, for whatever reason. The point I'm making about Eredo is how sometimes, not even sometimes, I would say all the time in Nigeria, gold sits in front of us, but we don't know. We walk past it every day. We say we're broke, we're looking for money, we're looking for this, we're looking for that. But the thing you're looking for was right in front of you all the time. So why did I mention Eredo? 26 years ago or so, I landed in London. My late mother used to be addicted to Nigeria. That's the best way I would put it. Because anything that happened that said Nigeria, she would have edited it, cut it out, put it in a file, and kept it. Daily Times, this day, that day, they said this. And I'm talking international press, not Nigerian newspapers. So I just arrived. She goes, read that paper. And it was the day before's Times of London. I'm like, Mom, let me have breakfast. She goes, okay, but read the paper. So I go pick up the paper. On the cover of the paper, so I'm like, what am I looking for? It says, it's right there in front of you. I looked again. And it says, the Queen of Sheba's final burial place, found in Ijebu, Nigeria. And I'm like, how? I said, the Queen of Sheba, isn't that King Solomon's wife? I'm like, how? I said, Mom, I don't understand that. It's too early in the morning. I can't really deal with this. Let me deal with this later. But I went back, and then I came back to Nigeria, and I went to the place. So Eredo is right there. The Queen of Eredo, the lady that built the place, it was built in the 11th century. The walls there are 70 meters high. If you understand engineering, to go 70 meters high 10,000 years ago, I don't know how they did it. The amount of earth moved there is more than the pyramids of Giza. It's right here. We've never gone. In almost any other country in the world, you'd be getting 5 to 10 million people a year coming there just for tourism. I told the Ogun State governor, I said, God, boss, this is money sitting here, right? You say you're looking for money, the money's right here. There's a shrine to the woman there, Bilkisu. Her name is Bilkisu Sumbo, right? So if you check, Sumbo's Eredo, Bilkisu Sumbo, then you now find out the Queen of Sheba, one of her names is Bilkis. So now you begin to understand that it's a combination of mythology, fact, history, and your ability to reimagine that can enable you to own the future, which is the real point I wanted to make. Just to let you know that there are legends sitting around you. There are historical stories that are worth billions of dollars that we haven't even started to bring out as IP. I mean, I talk about Shango all the time. Thor's his first cousin from Norseland. There's only 7 million people from Norway. There's at least 100 and something million Yoruba people. I would say, and you guys are brand people, money people, marketing people. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? What do you think? I'm just asking this room. Huh? Branding? Some people say that. I would say reimagination. Huh? We have left the Orisha hanging. Shango is broken, Oyo. That's the actual problem. Thor is approaching $50 billion. Nobody in Norway is having angst about Thor, right? But the Yoruba, I was in Oyo last year at the Shango Festival, watching a Portuguese lady running around, telling me how she had just rescued, because the Shango Festival in Bahia is a multi-million-dollar production. 100,000 people in the stadium, they don't play any games. The president of Brazil presents himself as Shango. Do you understand? We run from our heritage, others are chasing it. So the point is, own your identity, own your culture. The money is already been here. It's always here, it's still here. But you need to open up your minds. Thank you.